In an interesting wrinkle early in the 2024 season, the New York Jets have fired former 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh as their head coach. Should the 49ers bring him back? Why that is probably going to be a resounding yes on today's panel on this Winky Wednesday episode of Locked On 49ers, coming at you right now.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you as always at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We love and appreciate all of our everydayers out there, and welcome to all the new listeners. We'd appreciate it if you hit subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. No, seriously, subscribe up right now so you can get the daily content on your San Francisco 49ers, like this Wednesday episode with our special guest I'll introduce momentarily. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the place to play DFS, daily fantasy sports, and all you got to do right now is use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, guys. Robert Saleh. Oh, actually, hold on. I got jumped the gun here. We can't get into the topics because we've properly got to introduce today's weekly guest, Mr. Nicholas Winkler.
Nicholas Winkler, come on down.
So excited to talk about Robert Saleh and the prospects of maybe bringing him back. And I woke up this morning to just a bunch of texts and a bunch of tweets and mentions is like, bring back Robert Saleh, bring back Robert Saleh. And I was like, well, that'd be a weird thing to do. Yeah, maybe if he gets fired at the end of the year or something like that. And it's like, no, he got fired today. Got fired this morning. Robert Saleh, no longer head coach of the New York Jets. And the Jets are going to be paying his salary the rest of the year anyway, guys. So I don't think the 49ers will have to spend too much to bring him back. So the easy question, the quick question is, before we get into it, I think we all have takes on this firing and how it might fit for the San Francisco 49ers. Wink, welcome to the program once again. Robert Saleh, bring him back? Yes or no?
Yes. I mean, that's the easiest yes I've ever given on this show.
What's the role if you bring him back is the big question for me. Croc, it sounds like you'd be into giving old Bobby Saleh a call, bringing him back, getting his sweaty dome after running the stairs before games, yelling at guys on the sidelines, maybe just the energy the 49ers could use.
You know, I ran some bleachers today with one of my buddies and my son during my son's fall break, and I was channeling my inner Bob Saleh up there, running with the bald head out, sweating real hard, you know, all that good stuff, trying to stay in shape. But not. I think right now, right, if you are Bob Saleh or if you're the 49ers, I think what you have to do is like you do with everything else. Do your due diligence, make the phone call. Hey, why don't you come over here? We're your family. We'll welcome you back with a big hug. Come back any role you want. It could be consultant. And I know, you know, the 49ers have Brandon Staley. He's kind of doing his thing as kind of a consultant and whatnot. But come back. But if I'm Saleh, and again, as soon as this happened, my phone was going off. Oh, bring them back. They got to bring them back. It makes the most sense. Like, bro, I ain't coaching y'all or nobody else this year. Like, if it's me, just coaching in general, just coaching, not even being a head coach. You're putting in a lot of hours, but you're getting paid a lot to do a job. If you're telling me you're going to fire me and pay me the same amount to actually not do a job and be at home, I'm going to be with my wife. I'm going to finally get to know my kids, right? He got like 100 kids or 10 kids, whatever, 8 kids, whatever he has. I'm going to get to know my kids. Oh, okay, so you like Cheez-Its. Okay, but you like the white cheddar Cheez-Its, not the other ones. Like, you know, get to know your kids a little bit. Take the rest of this year off, relax, go on a vacation, and then in the offseason, I'll see what people have to say. And that was my take before I actually saw the report that that's exactly what he plans to do. And it makes the most sense because I'm pretty sure if he still had hair, that head of hair is really gray off of what he had to deal with in New York.
But he may plan on doing that, Croc, but this is a guy who, to get to that position that he's in, you talked about those long hours. You have to have just this passion for football, this urge and desire to constantly be out there with the guys and in the locker room and on the sidelines and writing up X's and O's. And he's going to go on vacation. He's going to start getting to know his kids, and he's going to be like, start itching. He's going to start, his hands are going to start twiddling, and he's going to be like, I got to get back into it. And what a perfect place to fall back on Santa Clara, right? You just come back, like you said, any position you want, come on in. We'll stay fresh. We'll keep you going. And all it can do for the 49ers is make them better, because the defense is the problem right now, right? So you bring in a guy like Robert Saleh, even if he's just kind of standing around in the back of the room with his hands, folded, just kind of, throwing in the occasional comment, he's going to help your football team. And hopefully that's what happens. Hopefully he goes out and he's like, I got to get back into it. Oh, Shanahan's on the phone? All right, I'm coming.
Yeah, there's only so many vacations I think you can take. And if you're a football lifer, it hits November and right around that week 9 bye for the 49ers. And here's how Kyle Shanahan plays it. First thing he does right away, it's like, man, you got a raw deal, man. Go get some R&R, relax. You deserve it. And love you, buddy. All the best, all that stuff. And then, at the mini bye week, you kind of just plant a little seed, hey, how was the vacation, man? Hey, take a look at this real quick. I just sent you cut ups. Take a look. What do you think about the way we're playing this? And, just kind of plant the seed, get it going.
Slow roll.
Yeah. Oh man. See I think we should fit up the run like this against this, man. And he's like, hey, and what happened, man? When I was coaching this defense, these guys could tackle. Well, what's going on here? And you start to get that conversation going, right? You're like, hey, well, check this out. And then all of a sudden you're game planning, and it's like, hey, why don't you come on over, fly in and talk to the guys for me one time, get them pumped up. It would be like that pregame meeting, and all of a sudden, like the Kool-Aid man, Robert Saleh kicks open the door, and everyone's like, yeah, Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, like, yeah, there's my guy, get him pumped up for a game, and then pretty soon you're around the team, you're a consultant, maybe you're in the booth, maybe you're on the sideline, but for sure, I think we're going to hear a lot about, and not just Robert Saleh, because it's not like Jeff Ulbrich. I mean, maybe Jeff Ulbrich does a great job at ends. He's the interim coach for the Jets now, and former 49ers at linebacker. And he's done a phenomenal job with that defense too. So that's 2 pretty high-level defensive coordinators that could potentially be available for the 49ers in the coming offseason if it doesn't work out with Nick Sorensen. And I think if Saleh, the Niners already tried to hire Ulbrich from Saleh. Say, hey, Rob, why don't you call the plays again and let us hire away Jeff Ulbrich. And right now, Robert Saleh probably wishes he would have let the Niners do that, right? And so that's 2 high-level defense coordinators going to be available on the market for any teams. And it goes back to what I was talking about this offseason. Like, man, if I was a GM, if I was an owner of a team, I would want an offensive-minded head coach, because defensive coordinators are available, and it is a lot harder to get high-level offensive coordinators. And when you do get a high-level offensive coordinator with a defensive head coach, that guy gets snatched away and becomes a head coach somewhere else. You can't keep him, but you can find really good defensive coordinators. I think Robert Saleh is one, and I think Jeff Ulbrich is one as well. By the way, I'm jealous of Jeff Ulbrich's beard. I think he's got like high-level gray beard, and the grayer my beard gets, I hope I can achieve one day Jeff Ulbrich level gray beard, because I think he's killing it right now in that category.
Hey, I was going to say, and I can't wait to, I just need to be able to grow a beard consistently and look good. I like the gray that you guys, I think what they call that, silver fox. You guys are turning into silver foxes.
Trying to get there.
But yeah, you talked about, if you're a team, get the defensive or offensive minded head coach. One thing that works is if you just have a good quarterback. So you can look at the Buffalo Bills. You got a good quarterback. Yes, they've gone through a couple of different offensive coordinators, but it's worked. Having Josh Allen, Dayball did a really good job with them over those first few years, kind of developing them, and they've kind of had some turnover, and you see some up and down in the play. But overall, when you have a good quarterback, it works. DeMeco Ryans, former 49ers defensive coordinator, he goes to Houston Texans. Oh man, you guys want to draft Bryce Young? Cool. We'll gladly take CJ Stroud. And what do you know? CJ Stroud ends up being really good. And I think the Texans are like 4-1 right now. And they were a playoff team last year. And DeMeco Ryans' first year as the head coach. So, he's probably going to want to keep Bobby Sloak around, and maybe he loses him. But I think when you have the pieces, you have the weapons, you have the quarterback, I think it makes that transition much easier, even if you are a defensive-minded head coach.
No doubt. I want to talk a little bit more about this, Robert Saleh, more specifically about the Jets side of things and how I think Saleh got a raw deal with the Jets being the one that's fired. The latest report I just saw before we started recording that maybe there were some other reasons and some shenanigans that were happening, and an offensive coordinator change that is it going to happen now that Robert Saleh was trying to implement? It's a power struggle maybe that Robert Saleh lost to Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. The 49ers did sign a kicker after trying out 4 kickers yesterday. We'll get to that, and we're turning page into a short week, quick turnaround. We got the Seattle Seahawks, a huge matchup for the 49ers this season, coming up in week 6. All of it next. This episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. And PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy. So let's say your lineups stay in play, even if one of your players gets hurt in the first half, that player doesn't return in the second half. PrizePicks keeps your lineup alive, and it's the best place to have real money action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. But by the way, you're not playing against those 10 million users. You don't have to worry about sharks in the pool that are trying to take your money. At PrizePicks, it's just you against the stat projections. You pick 2 or more stat projections and pick more or less than on those stat projections at PrizePicks and watch the winnings roll in. And did you sign up today? Get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win on that first $5 play to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. So download the app today or use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to win $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup at PrizePicks. Run your game. All right. So sounds like Robert Saleh is going on vacation. He's not going to join the 49ers staff now. Could he at some point in the second half of the season still join the 49ers staff? Yes. I don't think you're changing defensive coordinators. I mean, it would have to be a complete disaster for that even to be on the table from Kyle Shanahan. I don't think he would want to really make a lot of waves either. So I don't even know how big of a role he would want to bring in for somebody, especially early in the season. Maybe consultant role. They're big boys. They think they would have to deal with it if Kyle said, yeah, I want to bring Robert Saleh in and have an extra set of eyes on this thing. But they kind of already have an extra set of eyes as it is, right? And in Brandon Staley. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it's a slam dunk just from an organizational structure standpoint that they would have brought in Robert Saleh, even if he wasn't going to head out on vacation. But I do think it's still a possibility. And, we'll see how things turn around for the 49ers defense and see what it ends up looking like with Nick Sorensen. And I know fans are impatient. And I think the 3 of us are probably pretty impatient watching some of this and thinking it could get better quicker. But it was the same with Saleh and it was the same with D'Amico Ryans. It doesn't happen right away. So the 49ers obviously have some things to fix. And I want to start there in a minute about how they can turn this thing around so quickly in just a couple of days and get ready for the Seattle Seahawks. But as far as Robert Saleh goes, and I know you have some thoughts on this as well, Croc. So the report I just saw, which is pretty shocking, this is from Pro Football Talk. Before Robert Saleh was fired on Tuesday, he held a staff meeting during which he informed the team's coaches that Todd Downing would take over play calling duties. Now that's offensive play calling duties. So Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, who's worked with Aaron Rodgers for a long time, was actually going to be relieved of his duties. And then all of a sudden, Robert Saleh gets fired after that. That is curious timing, which sounds like Aaron Rodgers completely won the power struggle. Was like, no, I want my guy to be offensive coordinator. That's not the problem with this team. And maybe has the ear of Woody Johnson, Ambassador Woody Johnson, by the way, who might have been embarrassed as he was in front of his ambassadorship. I don't even know what you call your people that you ambassador with and around and for in the UK, in London there in the London game. Maybe he was embarrassed by that loss. I don't know. But Aaron Rodgers clearly is the head coach and GM now of this football team. If that's really how it went down, and we'll see if it's Todd Downing or Nathaniel Hackett. By the way, JT O'Sullivan's former college teammate at UC Davis, Nathanial Hackett, and a Nepo baby too, because his father, Paul Hackett, came from the league. It's always curious when someone's like, a random linebacker at UC Davis, and then it's like, oh yeah, 2 years later, you're quality control in the NFL. That was a quick rise there, buddy. So we see a lot of that in the NFL. Anyway, Raw deal. It was not Saleh's fault. He's got no quarterback play. Even Aaron Rodgers, 40 years old, coming off a Achilles, isn't the Aaron Rodgers that he has been in the past. It's better quarterback play than they got from 33 starts and Zach Wilson and 2 starts from Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian. And I mean, Robert Saleh had no shot. So total scapegoat there in New York for Robert Saleh. I don't like it at all.
I saw something that said that through 5 games, the Jets scored more points last year with Zach Wilson than they have so far this year with Aaron Rodgers. So when you talk about kind of a scapegoat situation, man, like, how do you fire the one guy whose unit? If you want to fire the guy because, well, hey, you're the head coach, so head's got to roll somewhere. Cool. He was trying to make the change that he felt was needed for this team. Let's change this offensive thing up. It's not working. Let's get a new voice in there, and hopefully that helps. The defensive ball is playing very well. One thing about a lot of these coaching hires, all right, when they get hired, they don't have a ton of pull most of the time. There's a GM they answer to. There's an owner they answer to. It's a very unique situation, and we're seeing it a little bit more now, but like Kyle Shanahan, he had a lot of power when he was hired. Of course. I mean, look at the team that he was taking over. Terrible 49er team. And I think Jay York just wanted to kind of stay out the way. Didn't want a bulky situation. Hey, hire the GM you want, and you guys do it how you guys want to do it. I'm going to take a step back. But you look at McVay and the Rams, it was completely different. Like, McVay had Les Snead as a general manager. Les Snead's like, I'm responsible for getting the groceries. You just do the cooking. And Les Snead did a great job of acquiring talent, whether it was, few through the draft, but a lot of big play splash trades. And he gave him really good recipes to make some nice meals. Well, the New York Jets have told Robert Saleh, hey, we're going to get the groceries. And it's like, what kind of groceries is this that you guys are getting me? You're making me take this old-ass quarterback. First of all, you made me take this other quarterback. You drafted him high. All right, let's try to work with him. Gosh, he's way in over his head. He's clearly not ready. All right, and then you go and get Aaron Rodgers, and that was stinky. It's been stinky. Torres ruptured his Achilles 4 plays in to the first year, so now your season's down the drain. And by the way, you still figured out a way to win that game because your defense played very well that you're in charge of over Jeff Ulbrich, and then you had a nice punt return for a touchdown. But the rest of the season was bad, and it's like, man, they're so close. They just need better quarterback play. So you go get Aaron Rodgers. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't Robert Saleh saying, hey, I want to sign Aaron Rodgers. It's like, hey, we think we could get A-Rod here. There's some guys that's on board. All right, we're going to go get him. All right, you guys, let's do it. They go and get Aaron Rodgers. It's been terrible. And Aaron Rodgers said, hey, but I am going to come. But you guys got to make sure you bring Nathaniel Hackett because that's my guy. That's my guy, Nathaniel Hackett. He was my coach in Green Bay. I know he was terrible in Denver. Don't worry about it. He's going to be better with me. No, he's been terrible with Denver. He was terrible with you. And this is all on Aaron Rodgers, the general manager, and the owner. And they're using Robert Saleh as the scapegoat because, well, he's the head coach. So something has to change. They should have let him do what he was going to do, change offensive coordinators, have somebody else call the plays, and then let's see if it works. And if it doesn't work, okay, then maybe mid-season we can really make this change. But right now, I think this was a terrible time for them to do it to him. The way they did it, it was bad. And that's why there's some teams that are terrible and they just continue to be terrible because they do stupid stuff like this.
Hey, as a Niner fan, though, you got to love this, right? Like, this is amazing on so many counts, right? I mean, obviously, you hate Aaron Rodgers as a 49ers fan. It's time with the Packers. Like, it's just so much fun to beat Aaron Rodgers, watch Aaron Rodgers fail. Amazing, right? And also, Saleh's fine, so maybe he's available. We have a defensive problem. Maybe we bring him back at the end of the year. Maybe he's coming in. So for me, like, I woke up this morning just like you guys to text and all this, and I got excited. I was like, oh, wow, what a story. And then I read this stuff about him possibly moving Hackett also out of the offensive coordinator position. I'm like, ooh, and we've got drama now on top of this. Like, the story just keeps getting better. And what's going to happen when they lose their next couple of games, too? It's going to be like, oh, man, just Aaron Rodgers. That when he just stands there on the field and just looks like everyone else is failing me. Everyone but me.
Win.
Like,
They'll win the first game.
You think so?
That's what always happens.
No, that's
When
terrible.
the interim coach takes over, they win the first game. It's kind of like this adrenaline rush, this shot of adrenaline, and then they just end up losing like all the next games.
They got the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. They could be tied.
Never mind. They're probably going to lose that game.
Yeah. You know what I love too is I just mentioned it. Rodgers is the type of guy you never see him be like, "Oh, that's my fault. It's my fault. We're bad. It's my fault." No. Look at Brock Purdy today. Look at the interview Brock Purdy gave to the press today. They asked him about that final interception on that drive. He took full responsibility for it, full accountability. That's the kind of guy I want running my team, not Aaron Rodgers. Come on.
Look, Aaron Rodgers has done some nice things in the Chico community. Some people I know that are business owners, and during the COVID times, things were hard. So I can't go full anti-Aaron Rodgers here, but I do know San Francisco 49ers fans for sure have enjoyed beating him in that rivalry, especially those playoff games in January. And it's very weird what's happening with his career arc right now, and especially what's going on right now with the New York Jets.
My beef isn't really so much with like Aaron Rodgers. He's just a player. It's the people that allow Aaron Rodgers to be the one that's in charge. So is Joe Douglas still their general manager?
He is.
Why isn't he fired?
Well, he's not going to fire himself. And guess what? You can't fire ownership either. Like the Jets have been bad forever. Why? It comes from the top. It comes from above Saleh, above Joe Douglas. The Browns, why are they bad?
Is it Woody Johnson? That's his name, right?
Ambassador Johnson. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ambassador Johnson. Fire Joe Douglas. That's the firing that needed to happen.
Yeah,
not
you're exactly
Bob
right.
Saleh. Douglas is the one that's in charge of bringing all those people in. He's the one that wanted to draft Zach Wilson, and other teams wanted to draft Zach Wilson too. But you drafted Zach. You wanted. You got A-Rod in here. You got Nathaniel Hackett. Fire Joe Douglas. But let's not do that. Let's skip over Joe Douglas and go to a guy who actually has the only really good part of his team playing well, which is the defense.
On that note, you can't fire ownership. Raiders fans know this all too well. And I just think we're sitting here at week 5, week 2, 3, like the Niners, like how come this stuff couldn't have been figured out by these organizations before the season so the Niners could have figured out their stuff better, right? If you didn't like these guys, fire them before the season. Week 5, you don't know. Who's one of the coaches today on one of the shows was talking about how they went to the Super Bowl and after starting 2-3, it's like, thank God I didn't get fired that year after going 2-3. We've seen with the 49ers, and we still expect the 49ers to be a good team this year. We've seen them come back for some bad records. But the Raiders are going to start trying to trade Devontae Adams after 2 weeks. Where were you a month ago? We could have done the whole Ayuk, Devontae Adams dance, and maybe everyone would have been happier. Figure it out before the season. Week 2, you're going to start making these changes. Week 3, week 5, you're going to fire your head coach. Niners could have Devontae Adams and Robert Saleh or Jeff Ulbrich right now on their football team. If these organizations that don't know what the hell they're doing could have figured things out just a couple of weeks earlier or months earlier. So, yeah, it's just some dysfunction, and usually it comes from the very top. And there's a reason that a lot of these organizations have been bad for a very long time. And hiring another head coach, probably not going to fix it, because guess what? Didn't fix it the other 10 times either. Next, guys, let's talk 49ers kickers, special teams, winks, wish, watch, and it's Seahawks weeks. Can the 49ers get this thing turned around so quickly? Next. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, and NFL fans can start with a big return on FanDuel because you can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed right now when you place your first $5 bet. And all you got to do is go to FanDuel.com or download the app. And by the way, when you get a little hunch when you're watching football next Sunday, middle of the game, you want to check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, you can find it all on the very same page where you're placing your bets at FanDuel.com. And yeah, did I mention you can get a free $200 in bonus bets to play with at FanDuel to bet on the 49ers to win the Super Bowl? Better odds now than before the season. Might want to jump on now. Maybe you think the Jets are going to turn things around. Bet on that as well. Offensive, defensive rookies of the year. Obviously, every weekly lines in every sport. You can find it all at FanDuel, and $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just download the app or go to FanDuel.com. This episode is also brought to you by Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. Now you can spend it wisely and maybe improve yourself. And you can do it for free with our sponsor, Hillsdale College, offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including courses. How about this one? Fine arts. You might laugh, but I like this course. The history of classical music, Pythagoras through Beethoven. How about some math and natural sciences, the great principles of chemistry, mathematics and logic, from Euclid to modern geometry, history, and liberal arts, and so much more. You can find it all at Hillsdale College. And all of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever, wherever, and tune in anytime you want. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/locked-on to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/locked-on to register. All right, those of you who listen to Locked On 49ers daily, the everydayers know about Winky Wednesdays and Wink's Wish Watch. He is a lover of special teams and kicking, and due to the high ankle sprain to Jake Moody, we got a new kicker in town, guys, and it is Matthew Wright. And come on, it hasn't had a chance to make or miss any kicks yet, so I don't want to hear the Matthew Wide Wright nickname that I've already heard on social media. They worked out 3 other kickers: Randy Bullock, Riley Patterson, actually 4 others. Riley Patterson, Anders Carlson, and Matt Coughlin, and ended up giving the job to veteran kicker Matthew Wright, who I believe is 40 or 41 of 47 in his career. With Moody out, it will be a new kicker kicking for the 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday. So where are you at right now with this special teams maneuver, Wink?
Well, I mean, we talked about it last week, right? You guys asked me how are the special teams? What's going on? How can they fix this? And I was like, oh, they're going to be fine, blah, blah, blah. And it was looking great. And then Moody got hurt. And you're like, oh, special teams might have cost them that football game, because if you kick that field goal late instead of 4th and 23, you got Arizona going for a touchdown instead of a field goal, whatever. Wishnowsky made a field goal. That was awesome. What a cool moment for Wishnowsky to get out there, kick himself a 26-yarder. Also another punt, 41 yards. The wish watch always in effect. It'll be interesting to see what Wright does, because this is a quick turnaround. They just signed him, and in 2 days, he's going to be in Seattle in front of one of the toughest crowds to play football in. And you know he's going to be trying to kick some field goals up there in what really feels like a must-win game for the 49ers. I know it's not. It's still early in the season, but you can't lose another divisional game. Like, you need to win this football game.
It's the most important game of the season, and you have 2 days to fix whatever is ailing the San Francisco 49ers. It sounds like a tough task for the Niners, but I do think the Seahawks a little bit of a paper tiger because of the teams they've beaten, right? Like the New York Giants and was it the Panthers and the Patriots or something? Like, I got to go back and
see. They lost to the Giants. That's how bad they are. They lost to the Giants.
Right.
And I will say this about the 49ers, bringing in the new kicker. Me personally, I jumped on that fantasy. I'm in one fantasy league. Immediately cut the kicker I had and or waived him and picked up this new 49ers kicker. Because if there's one thing that we've learned about the 49ers right now, they may be terrible in the red zone, but who's the beneficiary of that? The kicker. And we saw our kicker kick, 6 field goals in one game. We've seen him kick several other field goals. I immediately went and got Matthew Wright off the waivers, and I was just hoping he was available. He was available. I signed him right away. So all the 49er fans out there listening, I think you'd be, wise to go and pick up this free agent kicker out there right now.
That reminds me, I got Jake Moody. Thanks for reminding me there, Croc, before Thursday. Get him out of
Darn
my
it,
life.
Croc. Come on. He's oblong football over here. This is my league, man. You're giving this guy tips. He doesn't need it.
So the Seahawks lost to the Giants last week, and the Giants aren't a good team. The only good team the Seahawks have played is the Lions, and they lost that one 42-29 in week 4. They beat the Broncos in week 1. The Patriots, we've seen how bad they are in week 2. And the Dolphins without Tua in week 3. So
I will say this. Although they're losing some of these games, and you talked about that Lions game, I was very, very, very impressed with Geno Smith in that game. And I don't know if the numbers will quite show it, but for a guy who had to kind of like shoulder everything. And if you watched that line from the Lions, I mean, they were back there in 0.5 seconds every single play. And it felt like every time Geno was dropping back to throw in that second half, it was just under complete duress. And time again, he continued to figure out how to make plays, how to make throws. He's escaping up, going to his right, throwing darts, in between three defenders. I mean, that was one of the better performances from Geno I've seen. And it ended up being in a loss. So I know a lot of people are going to say, they lost that game. But just seeing how he was able to compete, that was something. Now, one thing that they struggled with it last game. They struggled the first half of the Detroit Lions game. They could not run the rock very well. They kind of struggling. They're struggling a little bit to have any type of consistency running the ball. So if you're 49ers, one thing you want to do, hey, let's make them one-dimensional. I'm watching Tyler Lockett. Kind of looks like a shell of himself. He doesn't look like that same guy who kind of used to terrorize the 49ers a little bit. DK Metcalf, he's doing well, but he turned the ball over a little bit. I think he fumbled against Detroit, I believe. Fumbled last game. So he's kind of having these really big, impactful fumbles. Maybe you could do something to get to him. But he still is a really good receiver. He's kind of carrying a lot of the load of this offense with Geno Smith right now. So I definitely like the 49ers in this game in the sense of some of the matchups. Like, all right, it's Geno and DK versus the entire 49ers. I think I'll take the 49ers in that one.
Yeah, there's a few things the 49ers need to do to win this football game. Number one is give Deebo Samuel more touches. He touched the ball 4 times. That's unacceptable. I need Deebo touching it at least 10 times.
And 3 of them runs.
Right? Just get him the football, right? Just find a way to scheme him open, little quick slants, drag routes, whatever it is. Put the ball in his hands and let him go make plays. Second, eliminate the turnovers. 3 turnovers, including a turnover on downs in the second half. Like, that was just horrible. And 8, maybe create a turnover in the secondary. DB's no picks this year. Like, they gotta go out, make some plays Thursday night, and they need to win this football game.
Croc, you mentioned some problems they've had up front on the offensive line, and they've been really banged up on the defensive line recently as well. Nwosu is going to be out. Derek Hall, questionable. He's been hurt. Byron Murphy's missed some games. Their first-round pick, who's going to be a really good player for them. He's questionable right now for this game. We'll know a little bit more about who's going to be available. Tariq Woolen's also questionable so far, and so we'll get a further injury report later in the week on that. When I say later in the week, I mean tomorrow, talking with Corbin Smith of Locked On Seahawks when we do our crossover episode. And look, the 49ers are literally 2 plays away. Maybe a better form tackle from Jake Moody, or just kicking it out of the end zone from Jake Moody on special teams and being able to kick a field goal. Maybe they win that game last week. One play, a Ronnie Bell catch with the Rams, and they're 4-1 coming into this week, right? So it's not like the 49ers are so bad that they can't figure this out, and they're a bad team, and they're not going to be good this season. They're not going to be a playoff caliber team, but the tiebreakers, it starts to become so much more difficult. And it's almost like, man, you're gonna you can't tie with anybody. So you have to start winning some football games. And it starts with the West, and it starts with the Seahawks here. And if you can get this game against the Seahawks, it'll be huge for the San Francisco 49ers, a really big game. And it would have been a lot nicer before this stretch of Seahawks, Chiefs, Cowboys before the bye, if they could have banked some wins. And now they don't have any wiggle room. They got to go win some football games.
I heard Nick Bosa talk about they're asking him, is this a must win? And he's like, technically it's not, because if you lose this game, it's not like you're just 100% eliminated.
Yeah.
But talking to Kyle Shanahan, it kind of feels like it's a must win. And I think for seeding purposes, and each week is like, there's a lot of football left to be played. But man, you start the season 0-3 in your division, 2-4 on the year. Like, you are behind the 8 ball, and you're continuing to dig yourself in the deeper hole. So this is a little bit more of a must win for several reasons, because one, you don't want to lose this game and then have to play Kansas City and Dallas, 2 teams that with Dallas, not great, but they can beat you, right? Sure. Kansas City, there's some little holes, but they can beat you. They're undefeated right now. So it's not like it gets any easier. I truly believe that this is a must win for the 49ers.
The stupid Chiefs too, because they're like kind of a little disjointed like the 49ers are, but then they're going winning these games and going 5-0. And the Niners are struggling 2-3. The Jets are 2-3 and firing their coaches. The Bills are 3-2 and things are a little weird. And the Chiefs there's some things that are a little weird, but they're like, oh, but we're cool. We're just gonna go ahead and go 5-0 right now. So kind of annoying.
They know how to win.
Yep.
Very annoying.
Learn how to win again this year.
They will.
Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen here on Locked On 49ers. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Appreciate Wink joining us again on another very successful Winky Wednesday episode. And Croc and I be back tomorrow with Corbin Smith, Locked On Seahawks. It's 49ers Seahawks crossover time. Wow, what a quick turnaround. Thursday night football, big one for the 49ers. Near must win. And we've got it all broken down for you right here. Locked On 49ers.
See you.
Can't believe it.